Y'all, I'm wondering how many downvotes we can get just for the title. Hi guys, JoySparkleBs. Slightly rant video, more of a PSA. I realized with the name of the title, I'm like, I'm gonna see exactly how people react. Because here's something I've seen, is I've seen a lot of people look at my title but don't watch the video. How many people in the comments have said, she said she cured fibromyalgia? And I literally had a title that said that I cured my fibromyalgia, question mark. And then I went into extreme detail about how I'm overcoming it in the terms of how bad it used to be. It's a slow inching progression because we've figured out the source of mine, but the source of mine might not be the source of everybody else's because there's so much stuff we don't know. Stuff like that, right? No, she said she cured it and she's gonna try to sell potions and jelly juice to people to cure her stuff and she's gonna make a good food, and just all these fun little things, right? So I'm just curious how many people actually watch the video and listen to it rather than just judge something from a title or a thumbnail. My thumbnails on these are like pretty bad though. It's typically me going like, nah. Maybe I'll make that mine. Okay, so wanted to give a little PSA on something that I think a lot of people don't think about. Okay, you guys know, I don't really want to harp on it too much, but I obviously have health stuff I deal with, and it is getting better. Yay, it's getting better. And, but something like a cold can really get me, like, it can really knock my body down because of my immune system. And so, you guys know I've been battling this, like, cold flu virus, whatever the fuck it is, for, you know, a week or so now. It's more than a week. Like, I don't know if it's 2 weeks, but it's a week-ish range. Still going on a little bit, but I feel like I'm at the tail end of it, which is great. But, so in regards to all that, you guys know I have asthma, right? But here's the thing, is like, I think a lot of people have been confused by it, so I'm gonna give you guys a quick history of my asthma because people just want to fucking talk and make crazy conspiracy theories. So here's the history of my asthma. It started when I was about 6. By the time I was 8 years old, I was really, really struggling. I had to be on a nebulizer 3-4 times a day. I had inhalers 3 to 4 times a month. I would be getting allergy testing. So I'd go into a place, immunologist, I don't remember the name, but I don't think it was immunologist. What is it? I forget the name of like an allergy specialist. There's a specific name, I think. But anyway, so they would take different serums of stuff that they thought I was allergic to, and I would get shots up and down my arms, sometimes my legs. Yeah, for a little kid at 8 years old, I can take a shot like nobody's business. I can take a shot and not flinch because I had to learn to get comfortable with it because I took so many. Sometimes there'd be up to 200 or 300 shots. And what they would do is they would measure, they would like set a timer. I think it was like 5 or 10 minutes. It'd be an all-day activity. So we'd be there, they'd set a timer, and then they would see where they put the shot, how much it would swell up. And depending how much it would swell up would depend on how they would create whatever serum it was for my allergy shots for the week. But my body was so sensitive and constantly changing that I had to come in often. So it was, I mean, for a kid it's a big deal, but you know, as a kid it's like, you get used to your surroundings pretty quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like most kids, you don't realize you kind of have to adapt quickly. You find even when shit sucks, you kind of find a comfort in it. So when you've heard me say I've had a bad asthma attack, but it's not that dramatic, it's because for me, like, I've had incredibly horrible asthma that would scare most people, but I've dealt with it for so long, it's not that, like, to me, it's not a big deal. Asthma in itself, yes, it's scary, yes, it's a big deal. It's scary when you can't breathe, because you can be uncomfortable and have all the other fucking issues in the world, but when you can't breathe, like, you don't have, you don't have a whole lot of time to spare in between there, because we have to have oxygen. So it's kind of scary. So what happened was just a quick progression, then I'll get into the rant. I don't know if it's a rant, more just kind of talking. So, I just had a horrible, horrible time breathing, and it got to the point many times where even the nebulizer stopped working. When the nebulizer stops working, it's scary, and that's when I go to the ER and they give you a steroid shot or steroids. When I was younger, I would say it was probably 3 to 4 times a year I'd be in the ER and they'd put me on a dose of prednisone. Y'all who have ever dealt with steroids, and probably, prednisone's pretty common. It's a hell of a drug. Isn't that who was it? That Rick James skit? Remember from Dave Chappelle? And what was his name? Rick James literally goes, cocaine's a hell of a drug. I feel like that about prednisone. Hell of a drug. And really shitty side effects, but it did the trick. It was like I was allergic to everything, and we had to always be like really careful, like especially fall. Fall, I don't know why, but fall and spring obviously, but fall was the worst. in terms of the cold air in my lungs. It was just really, really difficult. I was told, you know, that either I will outgrow it or it will always be this way. I would hit puberty and outgrow it, and I didn't. I would say I didn't really start to overcome it until 15 or 16. And that was when I decided to, that was like during like a spiritual awakening point for me in my life, being that young. I know it's weird, but I'm a weirdo. And I started to, you know, yeah, between 14, 15, and 16. And I started to research alternative therapies and medicines because I was like, I don't want to live like this. This is awful. And I started to change my diet. I started eating very healthy. I started working out, doing a lot of sweating and different things. And it did really help it to where it wasn't a constant issue. It still came up. There were still 2 or 3 times a year trips to the hospital. Like there was still that, but I started to slowly overcome it until like I would say my late teens, early 20s, it was mostly non-existent. Mostly. I mean, if I got really sick with a cold or something, or you know, like if I got a cold and my lungs filled up with fluid, I'm fucked. Like that's gonna be hell for me, and I've got to be very careful. It can still be a little bit that way for me, but luckily I haven't had that specific issue in a while, like with my lungs getting fluid and stuff. I'm digressing. So anyway, so then I'm sorry, there's a motorcycle going. I don't know if you can hear it. Pull out of your driveway. I'm sorry for the assault on your ear show. But what am I trying to say? Now I can't think because of the motorcycle. Damn it. Okay, so asthma. So then in my 20s and stuff, there were a few times it bothered me, and it came up. Like one time I lived in a house with mold, and that was awful. That damn near killed my lungs. It was very scary. I had never dealt, like I knew I had always been told I was allergic to mold, but I had never been in an environment where it was just surrounded by mold. And I've learned, it's very frustrating when I move places or live places because I have to make sure that there isn't mold because my lungs are so sensitive. Like I could not survive in a house that is mold infested for like a week. Like my lungs cannot handle it. It is awful. So yeah, so there's stuff like that I still have to be, there are things I have to be very, very careful of when it comes to asthma and allergies. Mold is the biggest killer. Hay is one I've got to be very careful with. Hay has a similar thing to mold, so like I can't, as much as I love being out in the country and I love being outside and you know, in nature, I've got to be very careful with hay. And I used to have horrible, horrible food allergies. I was very limited. Like, I went from 8 years old, what was it? Well, I'd say around maybe 9 or 10 when I was getting the allergy testing. Between 8 and 10, it was like I went from free-for-all of eating pizza and nachos and like, you know, my mom just fed us almost nothing but fast food. Horrible shit. And then I had to go completely, like, I wasn't lactose intolerant, but I had milk allergy, dairy allergy, so I couldn't do any dairy. I had to start eating very clean as a fat kid, which was kind of funny. I was pretty disciplined though back then, so I've always kind of been that way when I put my mind to something. But anyway, so in my 20s it didn't bother me much. At one point this is the other thing, cats and dogs, I have to be careful. Sometimes cats don't bother me and sometimes they do. I don't know why. Same thing with dogs. Sometimes dogs who shed and a lot, sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. I have no idea why. The dogs we have are hyperallergenic, so it's not really an issue. But again, these are just things I have to be very careful of. It seemed like there was, one time a boyfriend of mine, family member died and we adopted an old Sheltie dog, and I had to ask for my grandmother to send me my nebulizer because it was just too much. Like, he's an old dog, he lasted a year longer, but it was a situation where the owner died and then the family, they thought they were like, let's just put him down. And I'm like, no, I don't think you should just put something down just because it's inconvenient. So we took him on, but it was really, really hard on my lungs and stuff. So I had to get back on allergy medicine and be very, very careful, but didn't want the dog to die, you know, because it just didn't seem right, in my opinion. So, okay. So fast forward to now. I've mostly been okay, except 3 years ago, I was working in, was it 3? Yeah, 3 in Oklahoma. And I was doing an event, like it was like a mud run kind of thing, and they had me out in the sticks, so I was managing an event. And I was managing stuff all day outside, and I had the worst bout of asthma and allergies. And I didn't realize, like I had seen a couple times I had some issues in Oklahoma, but I didn't know that Oklahoma City is the second worst city in the country for asthma and allergies, and stuff was blooming, and I just wasn't used to it being out, like I was really out in the sticks. So I had issues then, but within a week it cleared up, it was fine. And then, I'm just trying to think, and then I would say, yeah, a couple years ago, you know, a few months after roommate picked me up, so like the fall of 2016, I started having a little more asthma issues and I couldn't get it under control and I didn't know what was going on. So it's been on and off since then, fast forward to this March. Every month I have been in the ER for asthma issues, asthma and allergy. I know I've talked to I know the staff at this point, they're all very nice at this place. They know me, they're all very nice. And they've said this is a killer year for people, but at the same time, I think, and by the way, there's a build up to this. I think what's going on with it has to do with my health. I think what's going on with it has to do with, it has to do a lot with inflammation, because I'm working actively to get all this, heavy metals and all this crap out of my system that's been there for years and years and years. Some of it probably has been there a really long time from my understanding, not just copper, but like the aluminum and some other stuff. And it is very difficult on the body, because I've noticed it's not just my lungs that will have a hard time. My whole body will swell up and it will be hard to like just walk. And it's not like before where I was sick and weak and collapsing. It's more like I can't move very well. It's very, very strange. So what they do is they give me a steroid of some sort. Like the last one I got, it's a DE. And it sounds like a geometry shape. I was talking to somebody about this in the comments, I forget what it is, and it's just a 1 pill for a week. Sometimes they give me a shot of something in my butt. Those to me are the best. They seem to work the best. This one I liked. Sometimes they give me prednisone. I hate prednisone. Sometimes they give me other stuff, but that's typically what it is. So just to kind of give you guys a quick history, because people don't understand my asthma, because I've had people say, she's lying. She says she had it, but then it went away, and then that had blah, blah, blah. It's funny. It's interesting to watch people on the internet think, because they have something wrong with their body, or they know somebody who has something wrong with their body, that everybody's bodies must have the same severity or act the same way. It's just always interesting. But I seem like I mostly overcame it, and it has come back a lot. And I think it has to do with just this year being crazy for allergies, so my body's already sensitive to that, but then my immune system's getting hit with constantly having this removal of all this crap that causes inflammation, and and then has flare-ups and stuff, and tech cut. I gotta figure this tech stuff out. But okay, so wanted to get that all out of the way because there's a lot of people that have questions about that, and I figure even in saying that, the comments are gonna be filled with conspiracy theories on what a big liar I am, no matter how many times I put my records out or prove what I'm saying, but I digress. So, what is the point of this video? Slight rant, but I can't really say rant because I'm not mad, I'm frustrated. Okay, you know how you can be, wait, is it focusing? I don't think it's focusing, hold on. Focus, focus, focus. Okay, I think that's better. I'm gonna slowly back away and see if it'll continue to focus. Okay. I've got to figure out what I'm doing. Anyway, okay, sorry, lots of digression. I don't know though, like some of these videos I do like this, I don't necessarily care for it to look like Hollywood cinema type stuff. I'm okay with just like chilling and being raw with y'all. And being raw is I'm not good at tech at all, and I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing with it. I'm trying, I do my best. And lately I've been having issues, so as you guys know. But okay, so I wanted to get all that out of the way to give you some history of what is going on. Okay, so you know how you can be mad, but it's like you're not really mad at anybody because it's like nobody really necessarily did anything wrong, but you're still pissed? It's kind of where I'm at. So I want to give a PSA to smokers. And you might be asking, am I going to be railing people who smoke cigarettes and being an ass? Or am I going to be pissed at people who smoke marijuana and they're going to get pissed? No, it's not really a railing against, it's more of a PSA of information. So one thing I'm highly, highly allergic to is cigarette smoke and marijuana smoke. I think marijuana's probably the worst. It's just, depending on, I guess, see, I don't know much about weed, I just know how it interacts with my lungs. So I want to give a PSA. If you are a smoker, whether it is cigarettes or marijuana, and see, I think some people don't necessarily think of marijuana smoke being bad, right? Because it's not necessarily the same as tobacco. I mean, don't want to get too many in the details or anything. It's not like I'm not speaking from any sort of expertise. I'm just explaining how I think people's minds work, from my perspective. So here's the thing. If you live in a place with other people, so if you live in a house with other people, if you, here's the big one. If you live in a place that's attached to other places, like a condo or an apartment building or a duplex or a quadplex or whatever, please do not smoke anything inside unless you are 100% sure that your neighbors are okay with it. The reason I'm saying this is I love my neighbors on both sides. On both sides. Very nice people. No issue. Very, very nice people. And I can't get mad at them for it. But as you guys know, I've been having health stuff, and I've had a hard time sleeping this week, which is fine. It happens. It sucks for me because when I have like people who are chronically ill, if you have a hard time sleeping and you go long enough, it's just gonna really fuck everything up. It's not just like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. It's like, oh my god, it's a week of being sick. My immune system couldn't handle it. So anyway, not to bitch about the health stuff. I'm just trying to give you guys I have to lay the groundwork for this. So I'm laying in bed. It's 2 in the morning. I'm about to fall asleep, and all of a sudden, an attack is coming on. But different attacks feel different. Like an asthma attack. Sorry, I'm like half burping. An asthma attack that's induced by exercise is going to feel different than one by allergies, than one by mold. They have different feels to them, but one by pneumonia, you know. So anyways, I have this like everything is really tight, very burning feeling, and I'm like starting to wheeze, and I sit up and I smell the air, and I'm like, oh fuck, I think it's marijuana. Oh god damn it. So anyway, here's the thing: is that I've talked to both neighbors, and both neighbors I believe they have chronic health stuff, so they have like the medical card. So it's not like it's illegal or anything, right? The problem is that like I can't breathe. I cannot breathe, and with the weed stuff stays a while in a place. It lingers. Cigarette smoke, there are kind of tricks and things I can somewhat do. The weed is a lot harder. So I got on my nebulizer, and it didn't matter because I'm inundated with it, and I got really upset, and I'm like, I don't want to go to the ER. I just got a steroid shot. I don't want to go back there because that's all they can do is keep giving me more steroids. It's not good for my body, but I can't fucking breathe. So like it's very difficult. And so basically I had to stay up for a couple hours, try to open the windows, get stuff out. We put on we shut me in the room, put the air purifier on. We have these tricks we do. And it took a couple hours, and then I was finally able to sleep. But it was like 2 hours and 2 nebulizer treatments, which the nebulizer treatments is just steroids for your lungs, so it makes me jittery, so I can't sleep. So I wanted to do a PSA for people because I think a lot of people don't think about this. And again, it's not that I think people are assholes, if they just don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're a smoker, I don't judge you. Everybody has their fucking vices, no matter. So if you smoke cigarettes, that's your fucking vice. Okay. So, everybody has their vice. I have my vices. If you smoke marijuana, I don't care. Like, I've said it before, I'd rather be in a room full of people smoking marijuana than drunk people. I mean, if you drink alcohol, as long as you're responsible with shit. But please keep in mind if you smoke anything, I don't care if it's cigarettes or marijuana, if you live in a communal place, you can be really fucking up somebody's lungs. And not just like, oh, over time, it'll blah, blah, blah. It's not just secondhand smoke. So I'm starting to if you see me get shaky, it's because the subject makes me nervous. Because it sucks, because I'm in this shitty position where I'm like, well, they've already smoked it, and I don't want to tell them what to do. It's their fucking house, right? Who am I to go and knock on their door and tell them what to do? And I don't think we have any laws here that stop them from doing that. And they're nice. I don't want to do anything to hurt them. And on the flip side, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't. You gonna go smoke it outside, So it's a very frustrating situation all around at times, and it doesn't happen often, by the way. This is not something, it's not like an all the time thing, but I've had this situation happen many, many times, and I just wanted to kind of let y'all know, because I remember when they started banning smoking from places, I was really happy, because there was a lot of places I couldn't be in too long, or I couldn't, smoky clubs I couldn't perform in and stuff, and so when they started banning smoking in many big metros, what was it, like in the late 2000s, I think, I was ecstatic. I was so happy. I was like, yes! Because, it would help me breathe. And I remember back then, there were a lot of smokers pissed, and they were talking about smokers' rights, this, that, and the other, and one thing I think people consistently neglect to think about is more and more people, and specifically more and more kids born now, have asthma. More and more people have asthma and allergies to stuff. So remember, when you're smoking in a place that's a communal place that's not outdoors where people can't escape, you may be sending somebody to the hospital. It's not just an irritation or, again, oh, you just don't like, secondhand smoke. For some people, it's a very, very big health issue. And I hate talking about it because I don't like making people feel it's weird. Y'all see me and I'm like, I'm direct and I'll tell it how it is, but in terms of like trying to tell somebody what to do with their life, I don't want to tell anybody what to do with their life. You know, and I also don't want to make people uncomfortable in their own homes and their own places, but keep that in mind. You know, I think part of my asthma and allergies were my mother, for many years of my life, smoked in the house. Up until the allergies got really bad, and then she stopped. And granted, I think that was more of a common thing back in the late 80s, early mid 90s. That was more common for parents to smoke in the house and stuff. So I don't fault too much, but I think it played a part, as well as other pieces to the puzzle, is what I'm kind of trying to understand and trying to learn. But this is just a PSA for, I feel like it's not focusing, so everything's blurry and I can't tell. Oh well, fuck it. I'll just do it like this. This is just a PSA for smokers. And I know over time, people have understood the culture's changed, and a lot of people don't do that. But like, if you're in a car, specifically with children, I know sometimes you have a bad day, you get stressed, please don't smoke, because you can really be hurting your kids. Like, they could be having an asthma attack and not knowing it, not understanding. You can make them wheeze. Please don't smoke in enclosed areas where people can't leave, because you're wanting to relax or have fun or do whatever could be really harming the other person or putting them in the hospital. And again, it's just not something people think about. I think people more think about it as like, kind of like, well, if you eat enough crap, you might get cancer over time. They kind of think of it more like that, and that people just have a judgment or irritation. But for some people, it really, really is a serious medical thing. So I wanted to put that out there. And by the way, I hope, I can already sense this fucking video. I love my neighbors, both sides, great people, nothing wrong with them at all. It just sparked instances in me where I've had to be around cigarette smoke or people smoking, and I couldn't escape it, and it just sucks. It just absolutely, it's a shitty situation. But just remember, you know, when you do stuff like that, even marijuana that might not have the same crap in it, you could be sending somebody to the hospital that's near you, and you might not know it. So just keep it in mind. It doesn't mean don't do it. I mean, obviously, if you have a vice, it's better not to do it. But I'm not telling y'all what to do. Everybody has their shit, you know. But if you do it, maybe try to go somewhere where it's not going to affect anybody. You know, it can't come through the vent system or whatever the fuck, however it comes in, you know, in terms of like living in an apartment building or places that are conjoined. Maybe do it in your car. You know, just try to think about the health of the people around you and what that could be. That's it. It's just a quick PSA. And I'm really curious how many people are going to rage in the comments about this. Just fucking rage. And there's no reason to. I ain't mad at a smoker. I ain't mad at somebody who smokes marijuana. I don't care. Smoke whatever you want. Just do so in a way, try to remember to do so in a way that's responsible for the people around you that can't get away from it, because this is a more common thing than what people think it is. That's it. Quick PSA. I feel like some of these videos, I'm like, people are going to be so pissed. And I'm not really sure why. I think I'm pretty nice about this. Like, I could be like, I could be ranting, but there's no reason to rant, you know? Has anybody, like, technically, have my neighbors done anything wrong? Absolutely not. They can do whatever the fuck they want. It's their home. It's just, so, you know, and who am I to tell them what to do in their own home? It's just, I would like to be able to breathe in my home and not go to the hospital. And I have other friends who've gone through this too, and it's just, it's so frustrating, because you don't want to have that conversation with people, you know. It's just, I hate that. And they're so nice. Everybody's so nice. So it's just no reason for it, you know. And I also know, here's the other part. The other shitty part is a lot of people that smoke marijuana have chronic illnesses, and they're just trying to function. So I get it, you know. Like, that's the shitty part, where it's like, there's really nobody to be upset at. There's nothing and nobody to really be upset at. It's just a shitty situation for some people. So, you know, it's like, well, if you're chronically ill, what the fuck do you do? I don't know. If it's possible to smoke it outside, if you've got a card or whatever, that would be, you know, that would be preferable to the people around you, is what I would say. So, I'm making a lot of hate for this. I can already tell. Okay. Anyways, PSA over, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And by the way, my lungs are fine. It's fine now. It's just a very frustrating situation. But that's also, here's the other thing. You can also argue that's just part of living in an apartment building. So maybe it's partially my fault. But I'm telling you, I've been in so many situations like that where people will just smoke and smoke and smoke in an enclosed place. Not just here, obviously, but other places. And you just can't escape it, and how people don't think about the ramifications of the health of those around them. Just because we're not designed to. It's not like, you know, when we grew up, you had a lot of anti-smoking and PSAs, but it didn't come out like, hey, the person next to you might have asthma, and you could be fucking killing them and putting them in the hospital. You know, this is just not stuff we think about, I think, in society at large. So it's just something I wanted to put out there to let people know, just as a heads up. So even like, you know, or I've had this happen too, where I've lived with people, or I've been in situations where it's like, well, let me go you know, I've paid rent and they know my situation. They're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna smoke a cigarette downstairs while they're asleep, and I wake up with an asthma attack. And it's like, do I have to really come down here and be like, hey, so I know you think you're sneaking it around me, but I actually can't breathe and I'm gonna wake up not breathing, so please don't. Yeah, hi sister, when I lived with you, I remember that. A few times you thought you were getting away with it, you were just giving your sister an asthma attack. Thank you for that. Anyway, that's all. Okay guys, so that's my PSA. I'm really nervous about the hate I'm gonna get. Typically I'm not, but again, it's just like I really don't want my audience to think I'm judging y'all. I'm not judging marijuana smokers or cigarette smokers, and I feel like no matter how many times I say that, people are gonna think that I am. They're gonna think that I'm judging them. They're gonna think that I'm trying to be mean or whatever, and I just, it sucks. Can we all just have like working bodies? How about that? Everybody just be in good health. Let's end on that. Okay, the solution to fix this, all you nasty smokers, and I never said that, I'm being sarcastic, the solution is let's all fucking be healthy and work towards health. So fuck all of us. Fuck everybody and me included. I'm gonna go. I love you guys. Okay, mwah. Goodbye.